Hello there, and welcome to the Kirk Minahan wrap-up show for December 10th, 2020. Today's episode was called Dagobah, after the Dagobah system and Star Wars. It was a different show. It was the first ever show where I was on mic. We had some first-time guests. We had Eddie Barstool Eddie call in, whom I do not believe has ever called into the show before. I might be wrong on that. But yeah, no, it was an interesting show. They talked about Mike's Patreon kicking off. We now have a set court date for Curtatone v. Minahan. So let's just get right started. I am joined by Madawaska Rob, who was supposed to join me yesterday, but due to my fault that I had to change times on him, he was not available. So thank you for joining me on this beautiful Thursday, Madawaska Rob.
Yeah, two o'clock on weekdays probably doesn't work for most people.
Yeah, it probably doesn't work for most people. But yeah, so let's jump right into it. So big news starting off the podcast today. We have a set court date for Curtatone v. Minahan, February 1st, 2021, just a little under 2 months away. I expect the Mina fans to go out there in droves of numbers. I expect cars to be parked down the block, there to be so much support for Kirk Minahan that anyone who comes up in support of Curtatone is just like, we should not be doing this. What are we getting ourselves into? This is the stupidest fucking thing in the entire world. What are your thoughts on it?
I mean, he is the absolute court jester of Massachusetts politics. Between him and Charlie Parker, it's just an absolute embarrassment. I don't know if you saw him with the eye patch. I don't even know what the fucking deal was with the eye patch he had on the other day. I'm hoping someone punched him in the fucking face. But it's hilarious that this has gotten this far. I mean, that's how petty and pathetic this mayor is. I mean, it's an absolute clown show. And it's funny because when Kirk says, this is going to be a landmark case or whatever, is it going to be? Because I'm not versed in the court system, but I'm guessing this could hold some significance to the like wiretapping and stuff like that.
Yeah, like break phone calls and stuff like that.
The consent stuff. And I mean, wouldn't it be crazy if this was the type of case that was actually looked back upon and people actually used it in other court cases? It would just be bananas.
It'd be hilarious to see, just to be watching, flipping through TV and 2048, and they're like, oh yes, actor so and so was arrested today due to precedent set in Minahan versus Curtatone or something crazy like that. So I don't know. I think it's just crazy when you look back, and literally the second ever episode of the Kirk Minahan show is when this whole shit started. And the fact that it's still going on is insane. The fact that Curtatone is trying to, I think they said, what's the maximum penalty? You can get $1,000, right, which is, I think Kirk offered to donate, to raise so much more money for women's shelters or whatever the fuck like that. If you just came on and debated him or just talked it over, or, talked about what he said about Barstool, it's so crazy to think that this shit is still going on, and it's never going to end. I don't see. I see this getting thrown out in 10 seconds. February 1st. I think Kirk will show up. I think Curtatone will send one of his jabronis to go. The judge will be like, this thing's fucking stupid. But Curtatone's going to keep going. He's going to go up to the fucking, I'm telling you, Amy Coney Barrett is going to fucking hear on this case, and it's going to be insane. I could see there being a live show outside of the fucking courthouse in Washington, D.C.
I can't believe
this thing is never going to end.
Like when Kirk said today, I would have been thinking the same thing he was thinking when he saw the date as February 1st. I would think it would be February 1st, 2022. The way the court systems works, it's usually so far away. But whatever, they want to probably Curtatone pulling some strings. They're getting it as fast as he possibly can.
Or the judges are like, this will take 2 seconds. I just have to formally say that this is fucking stupid in court. So let's do it February 1st, 2021.
You saw Mike Portnoy on the defense team. They were just like, this is unwinnable. We just can't even win it. Let's just throw it out because once you see a titan like that of the court system, it's just,
Yeah. It's just I liked how they started off the show with that today. I think that's going to be a big Minifan event. Everyone's going to be there. Obviously, everyone's going to be masked up and everything like that. But yeah, it's going to be, I don't know. I mean, you think about it, that's kind of where Blind Mike earned his stripes, is at the first Curtatone event. And it's been legitimately a year and a half, and this shit is still going on. So I think this is just going to be like one of those, like, not a gag, but like just running thing for the entirety of the show. As long as this show is alive, Curtatone is going to be trying to sue for $1,000 fucking dollars, which is fucking ridiculous. But I don't know if you have anything else to say about that when it comes to that jabroni and his fucking shit. But Blind Mike's Patreon launch, that was a big deal on yesterday's show. They kind of shit on him a little bit for his little intro, his little preview of his podcast. They kind of shit on the music in the background, which I don't know. It is what it is. It's some sort of rock music. You told me to put some rock music in the background, so
it was. I do see what Kurt says. It was a little loud, a little distracting. Have you ever watched Tom Shattuck's? Have you listened to Tom Shattuck's podcast at all?
I have not.
I honestly think it's the same exact theme song as what he uses. Because as soon as I heard it, I was like, well, it's Tom Shattuck. They're using the same thing.
Oh, really? Oh.
And the other thing, too, when Kirk said, when when Mike said, I think he said he was taking a deep dive, and Kirk, are you actually going diving? I said, wow, what concept for a show that would be? I would actually pay. I think that might be part of the Patreon is paying to see Blind Mike in a scuba gear.
Swim.
Take a dive. I just pay to see swim, right? I don't even have to see it.
Just throw him in the middle of the ocean and then just like stay 20 feet away with a camera to see how he's going.
I like Mike's too. He says, what's he say? If I haven't killed myself yet, no one should. So
yeah, no one should.
I like that.
But no, I think it's going to be successful. I know Kirk asked me when I was in the studio, it's like, do you work for us or do you work for Mike? And my loyalty is 100% to the Kirk Minahan show. It's Mike asked me to help out with this.
I'm assuming you run everything by Steve.
What do you say? I ran everything by Steve. It's funny. It's funny that the song was brought up because I originally was planning. I did a stupid little prank on Mike where I sent that video, but instead of the Blink-182 song, it was the Cotton Eye Joe in the background. And I sent it to him, and I was like, "It's all up, ready to go." And I wanted him to listen to it, and I wanted him to call me and freak the fuck out on me. And I had everything set up to record it, and him being like, "Jesus Christ, what the fuck am I doing?" But he just sends me a text message. He goes, "Everything sounds great, but maybe we should change the song." And I was like, "Fuck!" And then I called him up, and I was like, "Oh, you sure about that?" And he's like, "Yeah, just change the song." And he was so nonchalant about it, and I was like, "Fuck!" I was trying to get you to like freak out on me for putting the fucking Cotton Eye Joe in the background. And he was like, "Oh, thank God." And then he was like, "Oh, I didn't know what the fuck you were thinking." And then all this other shit. It would have been, a funny little thing if he freaked out, but sadly he did not.
He's going to be successful. I mean, I haven't signed up yet. I'm about to sign up. I'm not doing a $500 tier, but I'll throw him $10 a month. I mean, why the hell not? So wait, first, let me get my first little condescending. Can I say the word CUNT word? Yeah.
Of course you can.
Fucking condescending cunt Steve. That's what we call him now. Condescending cunt Steve. CC. Of course, Steve drops the little line. I'm sure he has his own independent fan base. Just such a little fucking bitch line that he has to fucking throw in there. Oh, Steve, why doesn't Steve go run his own Patreon? I wonder how many fucking independent fans Steve has. Not too many, I bet. Not too many. I'll say that to the end. We'll do the Steve stuff at the end.
Yeah, well, I think Mike can be successful. I will say I have seen some people think this $500 tier is serious. No. It is. It's not. It's supposed to be a joke. It's supposed to be. I mean, if someone wants to pay him $6,000 fucking dollars a year for quote unquote exclusive merch, sure. But the fact that people are like, I can't believe Mike's going from $10 to $500. Who would sign up for that? And it's like he's obviously poking fun at like the Tom Hartmans, the fucking the other Patreons out there that just have ridiculous things where it's like, oh, you can have a pizza with me if you're ever in the area or just something like that. So I think that's the whole thing.
When Steve was talking about the independent fan bases, like Mike's put in the work. I mean, whatever work ethic Kirk thinks about him, that's a whole different separate issue. But with the Minifans, Mike has done a pretty good job building relationships with us, in my opinion. Even up in Madawaska, obviously that was a shit show for the live show. But
you're a little too close to the Minifans in Madawaska.
Right. I'm saying like before that, but like, even like just he's put in his time. So that's why when people spend the money on the Patreon, I mean, it's not like it's like making a sale. It takes a little while to make the sale. You got to build a relationship to make the sale first. And I feel like he's put in his time with the Minifan, built that relationship, and I hope it pays off for him. I'm rooting for him. I'm signing up. I'm a gearhead, so I'm signing up.
Yeah, well, obviously we wish the best of luck to Mike in his Patreon endeavors. I'm sure he will keep on chugging along, and it's going to be exciting. But let's get to the real story, what the title of the show was named after, Dagobah. So I was told, I got a text from Steve around 11. I was sleeping yesterday. I woke up, saw it. I went back to sleep, and I woke up around like 4 so I could get going to the studio. Got into the studio, had all the cleaning supplies, and I was not expecting to go on the show. So I sat down, was a little nervous. I was also just walked up a flight of stairs. You know, I'm a big boy, so it was kind of that's why I was coughing and shit like that. But yeah, I was surprised. Steve told me that he was going to give me some sort of list that I had to list off, and I was like, oh, sure. But I will say, I mean, I didn't mind reenacting Star Wars. You know, kind of playing Star Wars in my own little head there. I will say the saddest part though is I believe like 75% of it was not caught on camera because I would be cleaning and I would be talking and I'd be like, oh no, now I'm throwing Darth Sidious down the reactor shaft, and then I'd look over and it would be like, oh, no signal. So I'd be like, fuck, so now I got to do this all over again. So most of it, so the majority of it was literally just me spraying down a toilet and talking in Yoda voices and okay, Luke, this is Ben, and shit like that.
I loved it when Steve went in there and like fucking scared you, and then Kirk's listening, and Kirk's like, "What the fuck am I even doing here?
What the fuck am I doing here? I got this fucking
Star Wars and clean the bathroom."
I will say though, that bathroom pristine right now.
Nice. I saw the video. Looks nice.
Fucking pristine. Anyone should be flattered to take a shit in that toilet. Right now.
Hot dogs and beats out of it. I mean, that guy wants to come back. He's probably writing emails right now saying, "Can I please come back and eat that?"
Yeah, let's hope Ryan Whitney breaks in that toilet tonight because I think it is primed to be used. So yeah, so that was interesting. I mean, I just cleaned the bathroom and reenacted Star Wars and kind of got into it at the end there. I don't know if it was on camera though, but I was Luke Skywalker and I was chopping my dad's hand off, and then I was getting like electrocuted and shit like that, and it was Father help me, and and then I was Darth Vader.
You live with in the divorced parents, right? The two, right? Is that?
Oh yeah, we'll get to that. We'll get to that at the end. Explaining that to my loving parents who both live together and have been in a successful relationship for the past 27 years. It was interesting, but real quick, I just want to hit on Jared Carrabis. We called him today, or they called him today. I'm super sorry. Did not mean to say we. The Kirk Minahan show called him today, and it was he seems sad. He does not like New York at all. He just sees.
Who does? No one does. New York sucks.
Everything's shut down now. I mean, it's just sad.
Even when it was open, I used to do a lot of business there. I hate it. There's so many people. They're all miserable. They hate each other. They hate you. They hate everybody, and they don't want to be there. And they're just all so busy. There's too many people. It's just everything's so far away. Everything's too far away to walk, but not close enough to drive. And you could be 0.3 of a mile from somewhere, and it's going to take a half hour, 45 minutes in a car. It's just it's a miserable place. I don't understand how anybody would ever live there. I could never ever do it ever. So I understand the sadness.
Well, it sounds like Jared really, he wants to come. He missed the Kirk Minahan show. Didn't have an opportunity to be in studio this week, so that's quite sad. And now, Rob, I want to get to you. Have a little. We kind of touched on it earlier a little bit. I know you have a little beef with one Stephen Earl Robinson.
Yes,
I have the clip here that I'm going to play.
I actually had Madawaska Rob was supposed to come on today.
A real talented broadcaster.
Who's that? But he's
the guy who was picking your brain for advice.
Oh yeah, I like him. Yeah. But
a real talented broadcaster. That is what he called you. So I don't see how you could be upset with that. I mean, if Steve called me a real talented broadcaster, I would be very very happy.
Right. It's just a condescending fucking way that he has everything come out of his mouth. I am just. It's just like so. I harken back to one of Kirk Minahan's best lines ever on KNC. He's doing the interview with Mike Lombardi, and Mike Lombardi's being a condescending little cunt like Steve. And he said, Mike Lombardi's giving Kirk shit, and Kirk says, sorry, I didn't have fettuccine Alfredo with Al Davis. I laughed so hard from that line, and every time Steve opens his mouth, and talks like the way he talks, that's what I think of. Because, sorry, Steve, that I wasn't down in Washington, D.C. with the rest of the drips. I'm getting body bagged by Thom on C-SPAN, 15 years ago. I was actually out living a life. I have experiences. I've probably experienced more things in one single night than Steve has in an entire drip existence. I'm not just Steve guy for a long time. Big Steve guy. I still
doesn't sound it.
I was huge Steve guy. But I'm sorry to say, the last 2 weeks the shows have been fantastic, and there's one big part of the show that was missing that might have made it so fantastic, and it was fucking Steve. I didn't see it before, and now I see it, and it's just he's just jealous. I'm sorry that he's the second most interesting and most talented Bowdoin College graduate in the Boston media. I mean, that's just a fact. Sorry, Steve, it just is. And then, Steve, see this fucking degree right here from Salem State?
Oh.
It doesn't Steve's, but guess what? It means the same as his fucking degree from Bowdoin. So stop talking down to people, you little fucking. I'm just saying.
Madawaska Rob versus Steve.
I'm gonna pull a Nancy Pelosi move on him, one of his favorite politicians. See this fucking picture right here? Bye-bye. See you later, Steve.
Yeah, broke his heart. Want to know what you really do? Fucking rip up your degree right now.
I don't even know where it is.
It's right next to you. I saw you put it down. Just rip it up.
I'm not ripping it up. That thing means a lot. I spent 8 years getting it. So
well, okay. Well, then looks like the beat's all fake. Well, I mean, I gotta say the reason why the show the past 2 weeks has been great is because of Kirk Minahan. I love Steve on the show. I think it's funny when he's condescending. I love it when he talks down to when Mike is on.
He's not doing it being funny. He's doing it to be a dickhead. Like that's
funny. That's funny.
There's no reason to be a dickhead. He's a fucking producer of the show.
Yeah, people are dickheads. I mean, it's
the fucking talent. Kirk brings the show to where it's at. Steve doesn't. Steve fucking presses buttons. How's Mr. Sales Guys doing? Where's the Jeep? Where's the Jeep? Is the Jeep sponsorship coming anytime soon? Like he has a lot of things on his plate. I get it. He's a great producer, but stop being such a condescending little bitch is my fucking thing to him.
I completely disagree with that. I think Steve needs to continue being himself, and I think if he was to try to, I think if you listen to the first month of the show when Steve was trying to play a character and he wasn't comfortable in himself, would you say the show is better now or back when Steve was on his tippy toes trying to to hide things and shit like that, and he wouldn't have said what he said on today's show?
I mean, it is like I don't know. Something just turned on me within the last 2 weeks. I don't know what it was.
I think it might have been when he sarcastically called you a very talented broadcaster.
Well, I know I'm a very talented broadcaster. I don't need fucking Steve to tell me that. But I mean, it's just something. I don't know what it is. I guess maybe that was it. Maybe that was it. But that's the only thing. Condescending people get under my skin. And I used to think Steve was funny about it, and now I'm just like, fuck off.
I can't disagree more. I think Steve needs to continue being himself. I think if he started playing a character in the sense where he wasn't himself, I think the show would lack something. I think Steve brings an incredible element to it. But I will say today there was a clip on the end of the show where Kirk says, "I wonder how Justin goes home and explains to his mom what exactly he did today." And they started talking like, "Oh, I think his mom might be dead." And Kirk's like, "Jesus Christ, I hope that's not true. My mom's perfectly healthy and alive." They might be referring to when she had a high fever a couple months ago, and I canceled my barbecue. I mean, I'm sorry about that, but she's perfectly alive and healthy, kicking. And then Steve goes, "No, his parents are separated. Yeah, no, his dad's a cop," which is true. My father is a police officer. But he goes, "Yeah, I know his parents are separated. He lives with his dad." Nope, not true. I live with both my parents. So that was nice to have all my dad's friends who listen to the show.
Nothing wrong with someone who speaks with such conviction and such confidence to just throw something out there like that. That's the thing. Like he had something.
I kind of like that. I kind of like it.
What he's talking about? He just fucking says shit.
I don't know, but that's who Steve is. He says things. He doesn't backtrack. Well, he does backtrack, but when he commits to something, he's like, "Oh yeah, no, this is probably true." Like in the back of his head, it's like, "Oh, Justin's parents are." Oh, he mentioned he lives with his dad. Also, his parents must be separated. So he commits to it 150%. But it was funny when my dad doesn't listen to the show, but a couple of my dad's friends listen to the show, and they texted him. They were like, "Hey man, is everything all right with with you, you and your mom, or you and your wife. Her things aren't going so great. It was like, no, everything's going perfectly fine.
Right? Is your mother good looking? What do you think, Justin?
Yeah. So also, Ryan Whitney is coming on.
Come on.
Ryan Whitney is coming on to. I will say I look like my mom. So if you think I'm attractive, then sure, we'll go with that. Ryan Whitney is coming on today's show, or they're filming tonight, releasing tomorrow. Have any expectations for it? I don't know if you're a big Spittin' Chicklets guy. I don't know if you've listened to him before. Obviously, he's probably, I'd say, the top 2 or 3 brands at Barstool, behind Call Her Daddy and Pardon My Take. When it comes to, Pink Whitney is sold out pretty much everywhere. They have a huge following. I think it'd be interesting to see the dynamic Ryan Whitney and Kirk have in studio.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he's very talented. I'm not a big hockey guy, but it's actually a testament to, I guess I would probably say it's a testament to that podcast that I listen to it, and not being a big hockey guy.
Mm-hmm.
He's also a local guy, Situate. So you got that. And I have a personal connection with his brother too. Like one of my first
personal connections with everyone.
It's the type of guy I am. I just I'm making the connections wherever I go, because that's what I do.
But yeah, at a hockey game and said,
I'm like, I sat next to my father. I said, that Whitney kid, I love the way he plays the game.
He's gonna make a drink one day that's gonna sell out around the country.
And then an Australian guy's gonna call me out for it, and it's gonna get all complicated. It's gonna be fucking crazy. So, but no, I'm looking forward to it. I think it's gonna be awesome. I mean, he's a professional, so anytime you get a professional in the studio with Kirk, it's gold. And then you get unprofessional people like Steve, and it fucking sucks. So
sure. We'll keep playing that card. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I don't think they're going to talk much hockey. I think Ryan Whitney, he was the one who called in when that BU kid recently passed away, the paralyzed guy. I believe that was Ryan Whitney. So I think it'd be interesting, to kind of get into. I'm sure they're going to get into some backstories, into some old NHL stories, and all that fun shit. But no, it's exciting. I think this has been. I mean, I know you. Sounds like you fucking hated this week of shows. But I think this week of shows.
I don't hate the show. Everything Kirk does is gold. Like I said, that was my big thing too. It's like Kirk could tell me that he wants to shit in my mouth, and I'd open as wide as fucking possible. But I just can't. Steve's on a whole nother thing with this bullshit. And but I think the show's been good this week. I mean, I always think the show's good. So I'm like Tim and Ken. Me and him, we talk about it all the time. Like when after we finished up the last wrap up, the two of us were just sitting there, and I was like, I like the fucking show every day. Every day I like the show. But no, it's gonna be good. I'm looking forward to it. Do you actually think there's a guy named Jarvis that he is staying with this time, or is Elias? Is it? I mean, that was my favorite episode of the entire
exactly.
show.
See, your favorite episode has to do with Steve. You love Steve. You love Steve, Rob.
That was back when he was funny, and that was back when Mike was there. That was when Steve talked minimally. I actually made a little note today because Kirk says right away, "Oh, Steve, you got anything?" And then right away, there's some political stuff going on. That's
he's a big political guy. I mean,
fucking ready to fucking boot all over the screen.
Yeah, well, I mean, he's a big political guy. I mean, if Kirk asks, like how he would ask Mike, "Hey, you got anything?" And then Mike would say something about Joe Rogan's podcast that no one really like. Everyone has their own little thing. I mean, if Kirk had me in studio and he said, "Oh, what do you want to talk about?" I go, "The fucking Mandalorian just had the greatest episode, a piece of Star Wars thing in the past 20 years. Let's talk about that." I mean, we all have our own little niches. Not everyone's like Kirk, where he just falls under this giant umbrella and he can make everyone seem great. But you love Steve. Let's just end it on that. Madawaska Rob, big Steve guy. Anything else you want to wrap up today?
No, man, it's been good. You're doing a great job with the show, Justin. I
am trying. Thank you, everyone who has listened or watched so far. You can see the link in the description for it. Releases every single night at midnight as a podcast format. If you want to check that out. If you don't, that's perfectly fine. It's live 5 p.m. every day that the show drops. And with that, I said, yes, young Skywalker, you will do good.